All right, we are starting. Hi, everyone. I'm Lara
Um,
Buelow, author of Mostly Unanswerable Questions, my very first book that launches August 13th of 2024. I'm an artist and a coach. This is an interview series with the folks who have endorsed and supported the book as it comes to fruition. Mostly Unanswerable Questions is a life advice book based on a snail mail project that happened in collaboration with the Keep Writing Project out of Portland, Oregon. Today, I'm talking to Jeannie Baade, a sex and intimacy coach. Her business is the Intimate Unicorn. I met Jeannie at a networking event here in Denver, Colorado, and won a free session with her. Jeannie is a very kind and approachable person. I felt comfortable with her immediately and loved learning more about her background and her work. I did receive a sex and intimacy question for my book. It's in there, it's published, and it was one of the more difficult ones to answer. In my opinion, we need to be talking about sex and intimacy so much more. So today we welcome Jeannie to tell us all about her line of work. Hi, Jeannie.
Hi there.
Tell us your name and the name of your business and tell us about what you do and how you do it.
Yeah, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you. Um, my business name is Intimate Unicorn, and I am a sex and intimacy coach. I don't know what else you want to know, but I can tell you all kinds of things.
So, how do you work with people?
Typically, our working sessions are via Zoom. I do offer some in home coaching one on one or with couples. And I am starting to branch into different workshops and stay tuned for webinars and more online on demand, because some of the topics are more conducive for people to take the information in uh, privately.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Well, let's start with what made you want to start with your business? How did you begin it?
Well, I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I left corporate completely burned out, and I was physically ill from the stress. I had no idea what was next for me, but I needed to get healthy. And so, as part of my journey, I embarked on a bit of a sexual journey, including some experimenting with consensual people of different varieties. And I do not promote the risky business, but it's my part of my journey, and it's part of what caused me to come to where I am, and that is basically, I'm from a really conservative Midwestern background, and then I moved out to Colorado as an adult and realized I could actually question my beliefs and the norms I held so tightly onto. Um, I read a ton about our mind body connections and actually realized for the first time I actually had to engage my brain, which is the most important sex organ. And so I didn't have an orgasm until much later in life. And it was shocking and alarming to me that no one's ever spoken about it in my life, in my education, in my family, in my community. So that I started therapy, I started working on a bunch of things, and I realized without even a question that I need to help normalize the conversation, have the tough conversation, but give people words, make it joyful and fun, but really allow people to explore their pleasure and kind of bust myths that we've all grown up with and give words to the silence that's been there for so long.
Yeah, I'm such a big fan of your story. It's to me, it's like a breath of fresh air because I feel like so many people in the world have had experiences, grew up a certain way, grew up in a certain place that really dictated how they felt and like believed the world to be, right? Like it just and I just love hearing your story because it's is one of transformation, right? One of like true transformation where there's like and especially and we talked about this in our session too, this idea of like sex and intimacy, there's just naturally shame around certain pieces of that. It's like I feel like that's just part of the human experience. And then on top of that, you have like cultural norms or familial norms or gender norms and all these things. It's so complex. And so to hear that you really had like a full on transformation and then leaned into it so far to like make it your body of work is just really incredible. And I love how openly you share that.
Thanks. I'm super excited about it. I'm scared, but so excited. Yeah.
Yeah. So how do you hope your business will change the world?
Well, like I mentioned, I want to normalize this conversation around pleasure and help individuals and couples create the sex life of their dreams. I want to empower people with education, with facts, with ideas, a sense of curiosity to strengthen their intimacy with themselves and or current partners. I think it bleeds into every area of your life. The more empowered you are with your own sexuality, the more you are empowered in life.
Yeah, 100%. I very much agree with that. And I, especially being the mom of young children, of young women, especially, it's like one of those things where I'm like, oh, I still have plenty of my own work to do. And how can I empower them to learn about themselves and like move forward, the next generation to be like even more expressive and curious and in control also at the same time. Like knowledge is power, that sort of idea. I don't know if control really is the right word to use, but
Well, no, but you're right. The knowledge of power is power. The knowledge of our own selves is incredibly powerful. And so there's been, for all these generations and up through my generation, we never really embraced getting to know our own body, getting to know our own desires, learning what our core desires are and how we um, can go about getting that. And I think that's what's so cool as we move forward and we're having these conversations. Like people are really learning about themselves, not just their thoughts and their feelings, and all that stuff is great, but really their own bodies and embracing the fact that we are given these beautiful, diverse bodies that are built for pleasure.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, absolutely. I guess that's a good segue into this next question. What transformation do you provide your clients?
Wow. Um, I guess that is the transformation. It's the transformation from a place from where I feel and where I feel most drawn to is a place of stuckness and not knowing, and maybe not even knowing what you don't know, to a place of embracing our sexuality and living our full potential and um, living our best relationships and our best um, yeah, our best intimate selves. And it's different for everybody, and there's all kinds of, there's no normal. So finding what works for you and your partner is transformational, and it is completely going to change the trajectory of your life.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, something my parents have really leaned into over our lifetime too is like they're always like, "Well, you have to be like really physically affectionate with your partner, and like sex is just so important." So that is one of the things. I mean, again, like I appreciate that they spoke to their kids about that and that they passed that on to us. Um, and it wasn't something they like swept on the rug or made
Yeah.
shameful or anything. And something that I shared with you too, right? They were like, well, if you're so busy, hopefully you're still being intimate because that can really get you through a lot of hard times.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think there's times when, I mean, that's the only thing that held my marriage together. But there, on the flip side, I think there's a normal phase in relationships and long-term relationships, even shorter term relationships. And there's this need to accept that, there are people who are asexual. There are people who are bisexual. There are people who have gotten to a point where they don't necessarily desire sex the way they used to, but intimacy is still really important. And, so it's figuring it out there is no, you have to have sex 3 times a week. That you got to find out what works for your relationship, and
Mhm.
so long as you're both happy and pleased and content and pleasured and enjoying it, great. That's
Right.
You win.
Yeah. Yeah. Then you win. Exactly.
You win.
Um, so I guess another form of the question that I want to ask, because of the nature of your work, who is like the best fit client for you?
I started out thinking my best fit client was a woman very similar to me, maybe growing up in a situation where they didn't have a lot of education about their sexuality. They never really questioned the norms. Maybe they're midlife and starting to discover lots of things about themselves, go to therapy for the first time, and learning, just kind of trying to wanting to finally figure out, well, what the hell is, sorry if I can say that, what
Yeah,
can I
you can say
do
anything you want.
about my body? What, I want to learn things. And then the more, I've also been working a day a week at a toy boutique. And I've had a lot of conversations with couples, and I've had a lot of conversations with men. And I'm kind of realizing that my ideal client is anybody, any individual who is on a journey of really wanting to explore and really wanting to understand their own sexuality. And it might look a whole lot different from somebody else's. And that's okay. That's the journey that we're on. Um,
How does
somebody,
how does somebody know when they're on that journey, would you say?
it's a great question. Um, I mean, I think everybody's going to know a little bit differently, but I think the ideal person is starting to ask themselves questions, is maybe starting to read things or see things, and instead of maybe knee-jerk reactions in the past, or just accepting what society has said, they're actually starting to ask their own questions of like, how do I feel about that? um They've maybe, I also really think that my ideal client is someone who's already worked with somebody, or is already on a journey with a therapist, or if they have trauma in their life. If, I mean, everyone has trauma, but trauma with a capital T. um, I think that, I guess I'm not answering this question all that well.
Well, and the only reason I'm asking it in like variations is so that the people listening, I feel like oftentimes when we're listening stuff, we can kind of fall into one of two buckets, which is like, that is for me, or that's totally not for me. And finding those like unique perspectives or questions that pop up in the ideal client's mind of like, oh, actually that like really overlaps with something I've been thinking about, or that is a question I've been pondering. And I think you share a lot about yourself, and um, do a good job of like sharing the type of work that you do with people. And I think that your story is really powerful. So from that perspective, I'm always like, okay, people, I'm trying to open your minds to some sex and
I
intimacy
Well,
coaching.
I love it. I mean, you're right though. There are people who are like, you know what? I'm kind of bored. We've been doing the same things for a really long time, and I'm ready to try something new. That's possible. Or maybe it's my partner wants to try some things new, and I really don't. But let's talk about it and give people the conversation to be like, well, let's find out why they want that, and maybe you can come a little further along. Maybe there's mutual ground. Maybe there's new things that you guys can be doing. Maybe you as an individual are questioning whatever you're questioning your own identities. That's not necessarily my specialty, but we can absolutely talk about it, talking about having different experiences and having safe, consensual experiences. I think that individuals as well come to a
Yeah.
certain age with lots of, even older women will come in and, or we'll have these conversations, and they're wanting to know more about what's going on down there. Everything
Yeah.
changes at a certain age as well. Menopause is another whole topic that's never talked about. And
No.
now, thankfully, people are starting to talk about it. And menopause and sexuality, I mean, they're hand in hand. So lots of avenues to go down.
Yeah, yeah, and I'll share a little bit more about my experience with during our hour as well. Um, Especially since like I was so when I first met you, I was like so thrilled and excited, and I was like, I'm going to take this free session. And then, but also it's one of those things that I've really put on the back burner for myself, because of my current situation, right? Like, still have two young kids, like really young kids, 5 and 3.5. My husband is in residency. Like there's like no time for anything ever. Like,
Right.
we've barely spoken since Monday, and and it's Friday today. So this idea of like, I was like, God, I almost feel like I'm wasting this because Adrian's so busy all the time. But then to be like, well, let's talk about like, what are the possibilities? What in my mind would I even be open to talking about, because of like I'm just like so in like mom mode and logistics and trying to navigate our life, and this idea of like where are the pockets of opportunity, to tap into that desire, whether it's for us as a couple or for me individually, right? And I think that was my biggest takeaway, and it feels transformative to me, that it
Mm,
was like, it's small but powerful.
yeah. Well, and not a ton can be done in an hour, but also a lot can be done in an hour. It is really cool when there's little tidbits of breakthrough of things that we can do in our crazy lives, or
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So
Come.
I forgot to mention this because I was so focused on reading my introduction that I
Mhm.
didn't mention, but Jeannie, for all of those of you watching out there, um, has donated a really, really cool and big prize. So Jeannie, tell us about what you're giving away for the book launch.
Absolutely. I'm excited to support this book launch. And what I'd like to give away is a package of 6 free 1 hour coaching sessions for you and or you and a partner. How this will work is that you'll fill out a questionnaire, so get a little idea of what you might want to be focused on, and then we're going to spend 30 minutes on a Zoom call to just get to know each other and get you to feel safe and comfortable with me. And then after we create a safe environment and a little bit of a roadmap to tackle some of your top goals, because it'll be different for an individual or a couple, the purpose of it, I guess, is to really set the stage. So our first session, we're going to discuss in detail how we're going to address some of your goals and concerns, and how we're going to measure success, and talk openly about boundaries, and begin our sex coaching journey.
And how many sessions were you donating?
I'm donating six
Okay,
free 1 hour sessions.
yeah, so 6 session coaching package. When you sign up for the book launch team, you will receive the book launch team emails in which there will be instructions on how to win this like amazing coaching package to work one-on-one with Jeannie. Okay, awesome. Amazing. And like, thank you so much, Jeannie, for supporting me in
Oh,
this way. I really love it.
you're welcome. And I forgot to say, I mean, it is kind of a big value. The value of it is $1,200 and up. I mean, that's starting at $1,200. So it is kind of exciting. I would
Yeah.
love to win this myself.
So so if you get a huge transformation from my book launch through working with Jeannie, you're welcome. Okay, awesome. So, and now turning it more into like, I'm going to put you on the spot about the
Yeah,
book. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I'm ready.
So what inspired you from the book? What kind of takeaways did you have from the small piece that you have read?
Well, I absolutely loved the approach to the difficult questions. Um, and I mean, that kind of is my takeaway. My takeaway was looking at uh, a difficult question from all these different perspectives. So it was practical, and then it really helped me prompt me to think about my own meaning of life and my own purpose and my own. So there's great questions that like dug in, but I loved also that there was solid advice, and you don't get both usually. You'll get one or the other. I think that the other thought I really like from it is this: the reader to um, take action from these reflections. And I'm just trying to think what stood out to me most in what I read was, I believe the question was, when do you know when to give up your dream?
Mm,
And it hit really home for me, because I up until like 2 years ago, I wasn't really a thinker. I just did what I was supposed to do and didn't really dream, and didn't really. So for me, it was actually transformational way of thinking, and helping me to learn like how to think. So I don't know if that's what you were looking for, but I just thought it was so lovely, and I'm so excited for the whole rest of the book to read.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna announce. So, like, there's three responses to every single question that I give in the book. So every single letter where I'm responding to a question responds from head, heart, gut, existential, and professional. Was there one that you were like felt like you were leaning towards more?
Well, I've been working on head, heart, gut lately myself because it's something that I've never actually really I've always been in my head, like, so head, fine, but heart and gut. And so the real getting into like, what does your body feel like? How is your body responding? And that's now my approach with coaching as well. So that's kind of like where I'm really living in right now, that perspective. I
Hmm.
love the other perspectives as well, but that's the one that stands out to me most right now because I'm living it.
Yeah, I'm so curious as more people read the book if there like tends to be if people really fall into these specific camps or not.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, what life advice or wisdom do you lean on and think is the most valuable to share with the world?
I guess the wisdom that I lean on is that I am the expert of my own life.
Mm,
Learning to trust myself. Again, mentioned this before, but spent my entire life not really allowing myself to get quiet and to feel feelings and to really search within myself for answers or direction. So I'm really leaning into that advice now and quieting myself and learning to really listen to my own truth and to my own voice and trusting it.
yeah, which is such a great like it's a solid pillar I feel like in the coaching world, which is like you are the expert of your own life. I'm an expert in guiding and like hand holding you through this process as we uncover your own innate wisdom.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so how can people support your business?
Well, I think that following my Instagram is helpful. I'm at Intimate Unicorn, sharing my posts with friends, coming to my events, um, and invite me to your events. If
Mm,
you are having an event and you'd love to have a little sass and fun and um, real information shared, real conversation, I would love to come. I'm in the Denver area though, so that's limiting. I'm in the Denver Boulder area, but I hope that's not too many ways. But I just love support in lots of ways.
yeah, Instagram, follow, like, share. That's
Mhm.
an easy one. And then also, as far as the invites are concerned, you could share about, one person setting up like a party for their friends, right? Like doing like a wine and cheese night where they invited you, right, to
I
give like an educational chat.
Yep, I'm working on something like that with a young woman I met actually in at a networking event, and that's exactly the thing. She's having a group of I don't know, we haven't figured out exactly 6 to 8 probably of her friends, having wine, keeping it super casual. I have a whole slew of conversation topics that I'm so willing to talk about, and yeah, so we're finalizing the details on that, but I would love to have those kinds of events or even virtual. We
Yeah,
can do
virtual is great.
yeah,
Yeah.
everybody's I mean, we all did in COVID. Everybody brings their wine and we facilitate a great conversation about all things sexual.
Yeah, I love that idea, and I'm really like I'm glad that you shared that with me during our session because I feel like that's such a great example of different ways that people can utilize you. I know personally, I would also love to host something like that eventually because it's such a fun way to like engage other people. I'm like, "Oh, mom's group," like
Mhm.
where you
Yeah,
where you can all get to know each other better in also like an educational space,
right.
right?
When you have time.
Okay, exactly. All right. So the best place to contact you is via Instagram or website.
Both. Instagram is great. DM me, or my website is www, of course, intimateunicorn.com. And you can sign up for a newsletter, fill out next steps, contact me. There's a bunch of different ways to contact me on there.
Okay, perfect. This is Jeanne Baade with the Intimate Unicorn, everyone. Don't forget to jump on the book launch team of Mostly Unanswerable Questions once you are on the team for the latest updates and when you buy the book on August 13th. and leave a review, you are entered into this awesome raffle with tons of fun prizes, including this amazing coaching package with Jeannie. So check the show notes for all the links. Thank you so much for watching. Check back for more interviews in the future. Thanks, Jeannie.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Lara.